Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. So, mortgage rates are now in the twos. They're in the twos. And did you see the infographic I put up? I put up a short video yesterday, both on stories, and I actually put them in the timeline, so go back and look. If you notice, June 15th or June numbers came out. Housing numbers came out for basically last month, and guess what? Over the 53 metro areas around the country, we were down quite a bit in the number of sales. The actual value has went up, but the number of properties on the market and the number of properties that have sold was down 29%. So when they say real estate's going down, that's what they mean. We don't have enough inventory. And I've said that for what I keep saying on these videos since Halloween. I think it might have been Halloween of 18, because I know I was complaining about it last year, all year, that we don't have enough inventory. And here we go. Let me show you what I'm talking about again. Let's go.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there, and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth? All right, for those of you who have not seen the show, I always start the show off with this slide right here. It says, if we have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, that's considered a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say, anything greater than 9 months considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 months considered a hyper seller's market. Now, I do all that so we now have a good baseline of exactly what we're looking at when we look at these properties each week, or we look at inventory levels this week. We're starting with Escambia County this week, and look over here on the left is the listing price. On the right is your month's inventory. That's why I put that up, so you can visually see what we're dealing with. And when I say we've got an inventory crisis, you can see it. Everything under 350,000, and honestly, I'm going to go on record here and say everything under 450,000 is a hyper seller's market. The 350 to 400, if you look here, it turned orange because it was right at 3 months, so it's not red. And technically the thing says under 3 months, but I also know that there's a lot of new builds floating here. And I said this last week, a lot of times a builder will start a development and they'll put one house on 123 Main Street in the MLS, right? And this is that floor plan in the MLS, but they may sell the same house on 123 Lollipop Street that is totally different. They won't even count that. They'll leave the 123 Main Street on because it's just the model for that. So some of these numbers are a little skewed, and I know that's what that's coming from. So everything under $450,000 in Escambia County is a hyper seller's market, with 450 to 550 being a seller's market. Now, just like last week, we got this little pocket here. 550 to 600,000 is a pocket, and under our definitions, it's considered a hyper buyer's market. It's a little strange, and it's just a pocket there. I looked at these up. I'm really not sure. I just don't think there's much of an appetite for the properties that are there right now. And in this price point, there's just not much one, because we dropped back down 600 to 700, almost a hyper seller's market. Again, just no inventory. And then 700,000 plus your luxury in Escambia County looks like we are sitting right on dead a neutral market. So not a buyer's, not a seller's. Why do we go over the two? Because if I'm sitting here talking to you as a seller, you understand marketing. If you're marketing a $575,000 house, I'm having a different conversation with you because we got 10.1 months worth of inventory than if you're marketing a $420,000 house, because there's 2.8 months worth of inventory. And look at this. This always makes me nervous. 150 to 200, i.e. your entry levels. All right, 100 to 200, or 100 to 150 here, 0.9 months, which means by the middle of next month we'll be out of inventory if we don't get new houses. 150 to 200, 0.7. Again, middle of next month, we have no houses. We're done unless we get new inventory. And I've seen a couple of these actually go to zero a few weeks. So when I say we have an inventory problem, the national numbers came out and said the exact same thing. The number of properties sold in June was down, but also the number of actives are way down, like 29% down. So we're almost a third of what we were. All right, that's huge. That's huge. That's Escambia County. Let's hop over to Santa Rosa County. Oh, look, there's that NA that I was telling you about. $0 to $50,000. We have nothing. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Nothing. All right, and it is not even a lot. I can't even find dirt over there for under $50,000. But look at the hyper sellers, all the way up to 550. hyper sellers, hyper sellers, hyper sellers. The 100 to 150, like I was talking about, half a month's inventory. Half a month's inventory. The 150 to 200, half a month's inventory. There's just nothing there. And that's your first-time home buyers. We've got interest rates in the twos. That's why the buyers are out in droves. People are also wanting backyards. They do not... I've seen a drop in people wanting to move into multifamilies. And I'm sure that is a aspect of coronavirus. They want backyards. They want to be able to isolate, if you will. Now, I'm even seeing some developments down in South Florida where the developers actually building into the homeowners association access to medical, meaning they're going to give access to a doctor or a nurse just for that HOA. Your HOA is going to pay for that with a group with, I think it was Baptist Health down in Fort Lauderdale or something. So we're seeing all the amenities. They're moving that in. So we've got inventory issues and we've got huge demand. That's why prices continue to rise. It's basic economics. Now, I hear all the stuff. Now, let me finish this, and I'll talk to you about that in a second, about the mortgages. Okay, so everything under 550 is a hyper sellers. In that 550 to 600 mark in Santa Rosa County is considered a buyers, but just barely. All right, 700 plus is a buyers, but just barely. 6 to 650 hyper sellers. 650 to 700 sellers, but almost a neutral. Okay, but if you notice, we have no hyper buyers markets in Santa Rosa County. None. Zero. So somebody says, is it a buyer market or a seller's market? Well, again, I'm going to answer it depends. It really does depend because, well, you know what, 550 to 600, it's more of a neutral, if not, slightly skewed towards the buyer side. Is it a hyper buyers? No. If somebody's listed at 575, are you going to be able to come in there and say, I'll give you 500? And if it's worth 575, you think they're going to take that? The answer is no. So I said, why do I share this all the time? It's for both buyers and sellers. Sellers understand the marketing they got to do. They understand how much they can push on the sales price. The buyers have to understand where the market is. It's not 2009, 2010, where we've got multiple foreclosures and multiple short sales on the market. As a matter of fact, in preparation for this show, I actually pulled the active short sales in the Pensacola MLS. There are dos total, all, just 2 active. I pulled the foreclosures. 10. Now, I remember when I used to hit foreclosures, because that's the only criteria I did. I didn't do price points. I didn't do anything like that. I just hit, I pull up all the active foreclosures, 10. And I remember when I pulled that up and it said something like 800 and something. That was in 2012, 2013. I know I was doing that because Channel 3 was interviewing me about the short sale process and wanted to ask questions about the foreclosures. So in preparation for that interview, I remember looking them up. Short sales were 400, 500, 600 active. And foreclosures were 800 and something active. They made up 50, 60% of the market at one time. This is not that time. So that kind of leads me into as I wrap up, let me see if I can talk right now. As I'm wrapping up the show, people are talking about mortgages right now. What's going to happen with the moratorium with the mortgages? People are deferring their payments. I spoke about this last week when I talked about Chase and how much they've built, but I've also said how much of the portfolio is actually doing it. And according to JP Morgan Chase, it's only 6.8%. Now, I know this week is a big deal. Next week is too. And it's all because of the economic stimulus. I'm not going to get into politics on this show. I'm just not going to do it. So I don't care. Republican, Democrat, Independent, Kanye, I don't care. Okay? What I want to talk about is, are we going to do something stimulus-wise? Wall Street seems to be of the assumption that something is going to happen. I think Mitch McConnell and Secretary Pelosi were both are speaking. Yeah, whatever. Nancy and Mitch are supposed to talk today to get things started. We need to find that out, and I think that's going to play a huge factor because I think those economic stimuluses, those payments are what's been keeping things afloat right now. If those go away, will we see an increase in people asking for deferment? Yes, I think we will. Is it going to be the 20, 30% we saw in 2008, 2009 during the crash? No. And if you remember also last week, I talked about how JP Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, came on and said what they were surprised about when they looked at the portfolio is that the average loan to value was 56%. So there's equity in properties across the board. Now, is an individual case going to be? No. We have a lot of VA loans that happen here. That's 100% financing. If you just closed one and now we have a problem, okay, we might not have any equity. But I really, truly believe one of the reasons the banks are building up the the reserves the way that they're supposed to. Wells Fargo's doing it, Chase is doing it, Citigroup's doing it. I've listened to all their calls. They're all doing it. And it's to handle mortgage modifications, in my opinion. They have not said that yet, but they've already said we're going to start talking about somebody making the payments that they missed, the 6 months payments over the next 12 months or 18 months or 24 months, or looking at putting it on towards the end of the loan. I think that bit of insecurity and unknown into the unknown, I think that's probably part of our problem. That's people are still nervous about that. But as you can see by these numbers right here, it is not impacting real estate anymore as far as buyers' demand. Buyer demand is still high, very high, higher than it's been. And with mortgage rates dropping to the lowest that they've ever been. Are you kidding me? I seen somebody talking about a 15-year note at 1.9. 50. That's car business, not real estate. I mean, if you have an interest rate in the 4s, should you be considering refinancing? Yeah, maybe. Maybe you should, because it's in the 2s. You may be able to drop from a 30-year fixed. You know, if I'm at 4.5, 30-year fixed, been living in a property for 4 years, I may be able to refinance it to a 15-year fix. But because the interest rate is so low, my payment stays the same. Well, last I checked, you just shaved, what is that, 11 years? 11 years off your mortgage by doing nothing, just refinancing. I think that refinance boom is actually going to happen once we get things back on track. And of course, that's going to take us getting Corona under control. I know there's a lot of people arguing about schools. I will talk about that on a different show, but not this particular one. So anyways, there's the market. There's the data. I do this so you can make good decisions for you and yours. Please reach out to me if you're even considering selling or buying. Yeah. If you're considering selling, call me, because I've got some advice. It's a little different than if you would have called me last year. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there, and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?